Sometimes things just don't go your way, and that's what happened with these wheels. Let me show you what I'm talking about. As you might know, I've been running these cappuccino wheels, which I'm still a little bit unsure of, although they are growing on me. But I went hunting on Yahoo auctions for something interesting, and I came across these really rare wheels, which, as you can see, have a bit of a dish to them. They're actually from the 1970s, made by Yokohama under one of their brands called Almex. And they really are the perfect wheel size for an Alto. They're 13 by 5.5, and their offset is 27, so which means that basically they're not going to poke too far out from the body, unlike most other wheels. If you try and put something like an AE86 wheel onto here, they just end up too far out. The dish and the offset is too low, and you need to put arches on, which is not a look I want to go with right now. So I came across these and I thought all of my dreams had come true. I love the style of them. However, there are some serious drawbacks. The first being the way that the wheel nuts work. So instead of a conical seat like you'd have in something like the stock cappuccino wheels, and 99% of other wheels, these have what's called a flat seat, which means you need to use something like this with a washer. The bolt only comes up roughly to the surface of the wheel here, which means you have to have a bolt that has a nut that has a shank on the end of it like this, so you can grab the threads inside here. It took me absolutely ages to find these nuts. They didn't come with the wheels. And the thickness of the shank needs to be very exact, so there's not too much play here, because these are not hub-centric hubs, so they don't hang off the center here. They hang off the actual, the stress is all on the studs and on the nuts. So this has to be a perfect fit. The washer has to be perfect to seat in here. The shank has to be long enough to get, thread engagement. And it took ages to find these. I couldn't actually find the exact spec I was looking for. I could find everything else perfect except for the center bore. These are 12.5 by 1.25. And unfortunately, the Alto is M10. Sorry, not 12.5, 12 by 1.25. The Alto is 10 by 1.25, so really tiny studs on it. So my idea was to get some really high quality stainless steel thread inserts to go in there to bring that from an M12 down to an M10. And I had bought them, installed them, Loctited them in so they'd be a bit more secure, and installed the wheels on here. Unfortunately, that's when it all went pear-shaped. The wheels fit perfectly. All was good in the world. I took a video actually. I can show it to you now. But while torquing down one of the bolts, I ended up kind of stripping this stud here. And as you can see, compared to this one here, where the threads go right away to the edge, this one is totally wrecked. If it'll focus, there we go. So after thinking about it, I just wasn't happy with using the inserts, especially because these aren't hub-centric wheels and hubs. So, don't fall over. So I just thought, for safety's sake, I need to try and source the proper size for this. I have hunted high and low and spent hours and days and days and days looking for the right bolts or nuts for this. And they don't exist, basically, is the short answer. I've contacted a few companies that make custom wheel bolts, and they've said, yeah, that's fine, we can make them. Minimum order is 10,000 units. So not exactly for hobbyists like me. So basically I'm left with wheels that I can't put on the car safely. These would actually be perfect for something like Suzuki Cappuccino, because they do have M12 by 1.25, so these bolts would fit right onto it. I've also went and sourced center caps for this, because the wheels came with these center caps originally, and there was only two, and two were missing. I also didn't like this style. Thought they kind of poke out from the wheel too much, so I sourced these center ones, and then got the caps set, the emblem separately on there. Put on the tires from the car when I got it on the 13-inch wheels, but it's cost me a fortune to do all this. The import fees and delivery costs and everything for these wheels has just been astronomical. But I'm going to have to probably sell them, to be honest. So I'm hoping somebody in Ireland is interested in these for something like a Suzuki Cappuccino, but I'll put them up on the market and see how that goes. If anyone else in the meantime knows where I can get, these kind of wheel bolts with an M10 at a reasonable price without ordering 10,000 of them, well then great, but that's probably not realistic. So what I'm left with is getting these Cappuccino wheels back on. Unfortunately, I can't just put them straight on because of the wrecked wheel stud here. So there is 4 bolts that hold on this kind of outer hub, which sits separate to the brake disc. And I thought I could just pull it off. As you can see by all the tools here, it's not really going too well. So looked in the user manual, and apparently you need a slide hammer to do this. So this has got a shaft on the inside of this that runs through the brake disc, and a seal in there, and I need to actually pull this whole thing out. You can't just hammer the stud out because there's nowhere for it to, there's not enough space for it to push through and install a new one. So thank you very much to Dave, who gave me a lend of this, and I'll be using one of these hub pullers and a slide hammer to take this off. Here is the new genuine part for the stud, and also all of the wheel nuts that I had on the Cappuccino wheels and the ones that came on the car were pretty torn up. They're all like this, they're wrecked. Somebody's been going to town on the Ugga. So I decided, just while I'm at it, I might as well get all new nuts for that. So that's where I'm at. I'll get working on this. But the wheels, I'm so disappointed they haven't worked out. I just don't feel safe using inserts and messing around with bolts and all that. It needs to be an exact fit. So chalk this one up to learning, I guess. Hopefully I can find somebody who's interested in buying those wheels. If you want to support this channel, or you just like Suzuki Altos, why not buy yourself a t-shirt, hoodie or hat? You can find them now at jazdashop.com. Thanks. I'm surprised at the amount of force that took to get it loose, but as you can see here, it goes pretty deep into this bearing here. The disc isn't connected to it at all, really. It's just sandwiched in between. Well, actually, the bolts that go through here, the ones that I took out, go into the disc here. So yeah, great tool to have. Thanks very much, Dave. I wouldn't have been able to do it without it. You can see the teeth there. Now I will be able to knock this stud out safely without damaging any of the bearings or anything. And now my plan is to take that big hammer and try and whack the stud out. Let's see how this goes. It's sitting on wood, so there'll be a bit of give, so I'm hoping it's still going to be strong enough. And that's it. She is out. And now to double check that the replacement stud is the same size, which it is. So let's get to installing this. Just a quick tip here. It required quite a lot of force to get this back in. So I ended up using the slide hammer in the other direction to line it all up straight. This long shaft here is great for making sure it's kind of square with where it's meant to be going in, and then hammer it home. So it's all in and installed. I just need to remove all the slide hammer, get the wheels back on. Well, hub nut and these 4 nuts, or these 4 bolts that are in here. Progress. Everything is now back together, and I'll be replacing these battered old nuts with these new shiny ones. The reason I have this 1 finger glove on is because I was using some CV grease, which is absolutely manky. And it's a great way to just dab a bit on. So there she is, back on all 4 wheels, new nuts. If anybody has a cappuccino and is interested in these wheels, please let me know. They will come without tyres, but with a full set of nuts that should fit cappuccino and the center caps. So yeah. Slán.